Thanks to bullies mock the new overweight kid until they discover he's a champion MMA fighter. The bell rang, signaling the start of another day at Westlake High. 15-year-old Ethan Chen slumped down in his seat, trying to make himself as small as possible, which wasn't easy given his stocky frame. 3 weeks at this new school and he was already dreading each morning. He tugged at his oversized hoodie, a shield against the stares and whispers. Just get through the day. Don't draw attention. Stay invisible. Ethan had moved to this suburban Illinois town after his parents' divorce, leaving behind his friends, his training partners, and the life he'd known in California. His mother had thought a fresh start would be good for both of them. So far, it had been anything but. Yo, look who decided to show up. The voice belonged to Derek Matheson, captain of the wrestling team and self-appointed king of Westlake's sophomore class. Tall and lean with perfectly styled blonde hair, Derek commanded attention wherever he went. Still hiding under that tent you call a hoodie, Chen? Laughter rippled through the classroom. Beside Derek stood his 2 loyal followers, Trent, a Tio, bulky football player with close-cropped hair, and Mason, lanky with a permanent smirk etched on his face. They formed a trio that ruled the school through intimidation and mockery. Ms. Peterson, their English teacher, called for order without so much as glancing in Ethan's direction. Like most teachers at Westlake, she preferred to ignore the subtle torment rather than address it. Ethan kept his eyes fixed on his desk, his shoulders hunched. No one here knew about his past, about the trophies gathering dust in boxes at their new apartment, about the years of discipline and training, about the regional championship belt he'd won just 6 months ago. His mother had made him promise to leave that life behind. Mixed martial arts is too violent, Ethan, she had pleaded after the divorce. Your father encouraged it, but I've always worried. Let's start fresh, you can find other interests. So he had agreed, for her sake. But sitting here, feeling the burning stares of his classmates, Ethan wondered how long he could keep that promise. The cafeteria at Westlake High was a battleground of social hierarchies. Ethan had learned to arrive early, grab his food, and find a corner spot where he could eat in relative peace. Today he wasn't fast enough. Hey, Tubby Chen, Derek called out, loud enough for half the cafeteria to hear. That's a lot of food for someone who should be on a diet. Ethan's tray held a perfectly normal lunch, a sandwich, an apple, and a carton of milk. He kept walking, pretending not to hear. I'm talking to you, fatso. Derek stepped directly into his path. Trent and Mason flanked him, forming a wall of teenage malice. I just want to eat my lunch, Ethan said quietly, eyes downcast. Oh, we can tell. Derek reached out and poked Ethan's stomach. Been wanting to eat a lot of lunches, huh? A few. Students nearby snickered. Others watched with uncomfortable expressions but said nothing. No teachers were present. The cafeteria was supervised only by a disinterested aide scrolling through her phone across the room. Leave me alone, Ethan tried to step around them. Mason stuck out his foot. The move was so predictable that Ethan could have easily avoided it. Could have, with his trained reflexes, not only stayed upright, but potentially sent Mason to the floor instead. But his promise echoed in his mind. So he allowed himself to trip, his tray clattering to the ground, milk spraying across the floor, his sandwich landing with a sad plop. Laughter erupted around him. Derek high-fived his friends. Oops, Derek said with mock concern. Better clean that up before you slip again, big boy. Ethan knelt and began gathering the mess, his face burning with humiliation. As he picked up the pieces of his ruined lunch, he noticed a pair of shoes stop beside him. Looking up, he saw a girl with curly black hair and kind eyes. Here, she said, handing him some napkins. Those guys are jerks. Thanks, Ethan mumbled. Her name was Lily Zhang. They shared 2 classes together. She was one of the few people who'd been consistently nice to him. I'm Lily, she confirmed as if reading his thoughts. Ethan, I know. Want to sit with me and my friends? We have extra food. Before he could answer, Derek's voice cut in. Better be careful, Lily. Sit with him, and people might start calling you the fat kid's girlfriend. Lily rolled her eyes. Grow up, Derek. As Ethan cleaned up the mess, his hands trembled slightly, not from fear or embarrassment, but from the effort of restraint. Back in California, he had spent 4 years training at Elite Combat Academy, one of the top MMA gyms for youth competitors. His coach had always praised his discipline in the ring, his ability to stay calm under pressure. Remember what Coach Marcus always said, true strength comes from control. Anyone can lash out. It takes real power to hold back. But as Derek and his friends walked away laughing, Ethan wondered how much longer his control would last. The gym was another danger zone. Coach Wilson divided them into teams for basketball, and predictably, Ethan was chosen last. Even worse, he ended up on Derek's team. Try not to break the floor when you run, Chen, Derek muttered as they lined up. Throughout the game, they refused to pass him the ball. When Ethan managed to get open under the basket, Derek deliberately threw the ball over his head out of bounds. My bad, Derek said with a shrug. Didn't think you could jump high enough to catch it. After class, the locker room became a gauntlet. As Ethan changed quickly, keeping his head down, Trent knocked his gym bag to the floor, spilling its contents. What's this? Mason grabbed a small object that had fallen out. It was a wooden medallion on a leather cord, a gift from Coach Marcus, with the Elite Combat Academy logo burned into it. Ethan's heart raced. Give that back. Elite Combat Academy? Mason read aloud, turning it over in his hands. What is this? Some kind of fat camp that failed, I said. Give it back. Ethan's voice dropped lower, a tone his former sparring partners would have recognized as dangerous. Or what? Derek joined in, grabbing the medallion from Mason. You'll sit on me? Something flickered in Ethan's eyes, a brief flash that made Derek hesitate for just a moment before recovering his smirk. Please, Ethan said, pulling his control back. It's important to me. Tell you what, Derek dangled the medallion. Jump up and get it. He held it high above Ethan's head while the other boys laughed. Ethan could have easily executed a perfect jumping round kick and snatched it back, a move he'd demonstrated countless times in competition. Instead, he stood there, fists clenched at his sides. Coach Wilson walked in finally, and Derek quickly tossed the medallion to the ground. Oops, butterfingers, he said with a grin. Ethan retrieved his medallion, his fingers closing around the familiar wood. As he tucked it safely away, a memory surfaced, Coach Marcus presenting it to him after his championship win. Remember, Ethan, his coach had said, a true fighter knows when to engage and when to walk away, but never forget what you're capable of. Staring at his reflection in the locker room mirror, Ethan saw a boy he barely recognized anymore. Hunched shoulders, averted gaze, the physical stance of a victim. 6 months ago, he had stood on a competition mat, arms raised in victory, his opponent respectfully bowing to him after a clean technical knockout. How long can I keep living like this? Sad weeks passed and the bullying only intensified. Derek and his friends had found a reliable target in Ethan, someone who never fought back, never reported them, never caused any trouble, until the field trip. The sophomore class visited the local science museum, a sprawling building with exhibits on everything from dinosaurs to space exploration. The students were allowed to explore in groups, with teachers stationed at various points throughout the museum. Ethan had managed to pair up with Lily and her friend Jamie for the assignment, but they got separated in the crowd around the dinosaur exhibit. Finding himself alone, Ethan decided to head to the physics section, which was typically less crowded. He was examining an exhibit on momentum when he felt a hard shove from behind. He stumbled forward, catching himself on the display. By yourself, Chen? Derek's voice, of course. Ethan turned to find Derek, Trent, and Mason surrounding him. The exhibit hall was temporarily empty. Their teacher, Mr. Benson, had stepped away to help another student. The assignment, Ethan began. Forget the assignment, Derek interrupted. We're bored. You're going to entertain us. Leave me. Alone, Ethan said, trying to move past them. Trent blocked his path, shoving him back. Make us. I don't want trouble, Ethan said. Derek laughed. That's your problem, Chen. You've been asking for trouble since day one with your stupid face and your fat body. Is that really the best insult you can come up with? The words slipped out before Ethan could stop them. Derek's eyes narrowed. What did you say? Bad move, Ethan. Bad move. Nothing, Ethan muttered, trying to defuse the situation. No, I want to hear it. Derek stepped closer. You finally grew a spine, Tubby. I said I don't want trouble. Too late. Derek grabbed Ethan's jacket and shoved him hard against the wall, knocking over a small part of the display. The crash echoed through the hall. Stop, Ethan warned, his voice changing, the familiar, pre-fight focus settling over him. Or what? Derek sneered, drawing back his fist. Time seemed to slow. Ethan saw the punch coming, telegraphed, sloppy, with no proper weight distribution or hip rotation. His body reacted instinctively. He slipped the punch with a subtle head movement, causing Derek to overextend and lose balance. Ethan could have countered with any number of strikes, but instead he simply sidestepped, letting Derek stumble past him. Derek caught himself and turned, furious and surprised. You got lucky, he snarled. Just leave me alone, Ethan said, his stance subtly shifting. Anyone trained would have recognized it. Feet shoulder-width apart, weight balanced, hands relaxed but ready. Trent and Mason moved in from both sides. This time, Ethan's restraint wavered. As Trent grabbed for him, Ethan executed a perfect arm deflection, redirecting Trent's momentum and causing him to collide with Mason. Both boys stumbled. "What the hell?" Mason muttered, regaining his footing. Derek, enraged at being made to look foolish, charged forward recklessly. That was when Ethan's promise finally broke. In one fluid motion, he sidestepped Derek's rush, used his attacker's momentum against him, and executed a simple but effective hip toss, a move he'd perfected in his first year of training. Derek went airborne briefly before landing hard on his back. The wind knocked out of him. The sound of the impact drew attention. Students began to gather at the entrance to the exhibit hall, whispering and pointing. "Stay down," Ethan said quietly to Derek, who was gasping for breath. Trent, not learning from his friend's mistake, rushed at Ethan from behind. Without even turning fully, Ethan delivered a short defensive elbow strike to Trent's solar plexus, doubling him over. Mason, suddenly realizing he was outmatched, backed away with his hands raised. "What are you, some kind of ninja freak?" By now, a small crowd had gathered. Lily pushed her way to the front, her eyes wide. "Ethan!" Mr. Benson finally appeared, taking in the scene with confusion. "What's going on here?" Derek, regaining his breath, pointed at Ethan. "He attacked us. For no reason." "That's not true." Lily stepped forward. "They've been bullying him for weeks. Everyone knows it." Other students murmured in agreement, the silent witnesses finally finding their voices. "He threw me on the ground." Derek protested, getting to his feet unsteadily. "After you tried to punch him," someone in the crowd added. Mr. Benson looked stern. "All four of you with me. Now, the rest of you, back to your assignments." As they followed the teacher, Ethan felt the weight of stares, but they were different now. The looks weren't of mockery or pity, but of curiosity and even respect. The principal's office was tense. Derek, Trent, and Mason sat on one side, while Ethan sat alone on the other. Their parents had been called. "Derek says you assaulted them," Principal Reynolds said to Ethan, her expression severe. "I defended myself," Ethan replied calmly. "They've been bullying me since I arrived. Today, Derek tried to punch me." "That's a lie," Derek protested. "Look at him, and look at us. How could he take on all three of us unless he attacked first?" Principal Reynolds considered this, frowning. "Perhaps I can help explain," a new voice said. Ethan turned to see his mother entering the office, looking worried but composed. She placed a supportive hand on his shoulder. "Mrs. Chen, thank you for coming so quickly," Principal Reynolds said. "Of course, Ethan has never been in trouble before, so I was concerned. Your son is accused of assaulting 3 students during the field trip today." Ethan's mother looked at him questioningly. "Ethan? They cornered me, Mom. Derek tried to punch me. I just reacted." She closed her eyes briefly. "I was afraid something like this might happen." She turned to the principal. "My son is not violent, Ms. Reynolds, but he is trained to defend himself." "Trained?" Principal Reynolds echoed. "Before we moved here, Ethan was a junior mixed martial arts champion in California, Elite Combat Academy. Perhaps you've heard of it. They train several Olympic athletes and UFC fighters." The room fell silent. Derek's confident smirk faltered. "He competed in the 155-pound weight class," his mother continued, surprising Ethan with her knowledge. She had rarely discussed his fighting career. "He won the regional championship 6 months ago. When we moved, I asked him to leave that life behind, to avoid violence. It seems he's been honoring that promise, despite provocation." Principal Reynolds looked at Ethan with new eyes. "Is this true?" Ethan nodded, then reached into his pocket and pulled out his wooden medallion. "My coach gave me this after I won the championship. Derek and his friends tried to take it from me in the locker room last week." "That thing?" Derek scoffed, but his voice lacked conviction. "We have a strict anti-bullying policy at Westlake," Principal Reynolds said. "Why didn't you report these incidents, Ethan?" "I wanted to handle it myself," Ethan admitted. "I promised my mom I wouldn't fight. I tried to keep that promise." The principal turned to Derek and his friends. "We'll be reviewing the museum's security footage and speaking with witnesses. If what Ethan says is true, you 3 will face serious consequences." Derek's parents, who had arrived during the conversation, looked mortified. Mr. Matheson, in particular, was glaring at his son. "In the meantime," Principal Reynolds continued, "all 4 of you are suspended for the remainder of the day while we sort this out. Ethan, given the circumstances and your clean prior record, that may be the extent of your punishment if the footage confirms your account." As they left the office, Ethan's mother squeezed his shoulder. "I'm not happy you broke your promise," she said quietly, "but I'm proud you showed restraint for as long as you did." "I'm sorry, Mom." "Don't be. I think I was wrong to ask you to deny that part of yourself. Being a fighter doesn't mean being violent. It means having discipline and knowing when to stand up for yourself. Ethan felt a weight lift from his shoulders. "Does this mean we'll find you a new gym?" she said with a small smile. "Maybe something with a stronger focus on discipline and self-defense than competition. But yes, you can train again." The Sioux. Next day, the atmosphere at Westlake High had shifted dramatically. The security footage had confirmed Ethan's account. Derek, Trent, and Mason received 2-week suspensions and were required to attend anti-bullying counseling. When Ethan walked into English class, the room didn't fall silent with mockery. Instead, students greeted him with newfound respect. "Is it true you're a championship fighter?" Alex from the basketball team asked. "Former champion," Ethan corrected modestly. "I haven't competed in 6 months." "But you could flip Derek over your shoulder without even trying," another student added with admiration. "That was just basic technique," Ethan explained. "It's about leverage and balance, not strength." As he took his seat, Lily slid into the desk beside him. "Why didn't you tell me?" Ethan shrugged. "I was trying to leave it behind, start fresh." "Well, you're definitely getting a fresh start now," she said with a smile. "By the way, some of us are getting together to study for the history test. Want to join?" Before Ethan could answer, Ms. Peterson called the class to order. As he opened his textbook, Ethan sat up straighter, no longer trying to disappear. At lunch, he found himself invited to Lily's table, where her friends welcomed him with genuine interest, asking about his training and competitions. "Could you teach me some moves?" Jamie asked eagerly. "It takes years of practice," Ethan explained, "but I could show you some basics sometime." As they talked, Ethan noticed Mason enter the cafeteria alone, looking uncomfortable without his usual backup. Their eyes met briefly before Mason quickly looked away, choosing a seat in the far corner. After school, Ethan was packing up his locker when Derek appeared beside him. His usual swagger was gone. "Hey," Derek said awkwardly. Ethan tensed slightly, but remained calm. "Hey, my dad made me come apologize," Derek mumbled. "So, sorry." "Okay," Ethan replied simply. Derek shifted uncomfortably. "That throw you did, that was pretty sick." Ethan raised an eyebrow, surprised by the compliment. "How long did it take you to learn that stuff?" Derek asked, a hint of genuine curiosity in his voice. "Years," Ethan said. "Hours of practice every day." Derek nodded slowly. I guess I didn't know who I was messing with." "That's usually how it works," Ethan said. "People make assumptions." "Yeah, well," Derek trailed off, clearly unsure how to continue. After an awkward pause, he added, "See you around," and walked away. Ethan watched him go, feeling neither triumph nor anger, just a quiet satisfaction that he could finally be himself again. 6 weeks later, Ethan stood in the center of Red Dragon Martial Arts Academy, his new local gym, demonstrating a technique to a group of beginners. His mother watched from the sidelines, smiling proudly. "Remember," Ethan told the students, "martial arts isn't about hurting others. It's about discipline, respect, and knowing how to protect yourself if necessary." Among the students, surprisingly, was Trent. After serving his suspension and completing his counseling, he had approached Ethan cautiously, asking about training. "I want to learn the right way," he had explained, "not to bully people, but, to be better." At school, Ethan was no longer the shy new kid trying to hide. He had found his place, not as a bully or a victim, but as someone confident in his abilities and comfortable with who he was. Lily had become a close friend, and through her, Ethan had developed a circle of genuine friendships. Even Derek had grudgingly developed a wary respect for him, the former bully now careful to give Ethan plenty of space in the hallways. As Ethan guided his students through a basic defensive stance, he remembered Coach Marcus's words. "A true fighter knows when to engage and when to walk away." He had finally found the balance between the two. "Good," he told the class as they mirrored his movements. "Now remember, the strongest person in the room isn't the one who can throw the hardest punch. It's the one who knows they can, but chooses not to unless absolutely necessary." Trent nodded solemnly, taking the lesson to heart. After class, as Ethan was collecting his gear, his mother approached. "You're a good teacher," she said proudly. "I had good teachers," Ethan replied with a smile. "And you've become a better person through all this," she added. "You stood up for yourself without becoming what you fought against. That takes real strength." Ethan fingered the wooden medallion around his neck, thinking about his journey over the past few months. From champion to target, from target to survivor, and now to mentor. "I think," he said thoughtfully, "sometimes you have to face your bullies to find out who you really are." His mother nodded. "And who are you, Ethan Chen?" Ethan looked around the dojo at his students, at his new beginning, and smiled. "Someone who knows his own strength, both inside and out." As they walked out into the cool evening air, Ethan stood tall, no longer hunched or hiding. The lessons he had learned weren't just about fighting. They were about finding the courage to be himself, to show his true strength when it mattered most, and to use that strength not just for himself, but to help others find theirs. That, he realized, was the greatest victory of all. Now, if you liked this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support us. Your subscription is very important to us. We need your support, so please subscribe and leave a comment telling me your opinion. Besides that, it's not over. Yet there's one more case for you to watch playing on your screen now. Click on it and I'm waiting for you. Retry Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses.